We are all stories, different stories. But the question is our story worth reading? Is our story worth sharing? Because stories are extremely powerful, and your story will have the power to change lives when you will decide to change the story of your life. So, what is your story? Now, if you ask me, my story starts in a small town named Malanchkhand. You might not have heard about this town, but it is in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. I grew up as a brilliant yet very mischievous kid, and I loved going to school. Well, not for studying, but to play pranks on my classmates. And my most favorite prank was the frog prank that happened only during rainy season. When it would be raining heavily, I would set out on my mission to catch the frogs. And let me tell you that there is a technique to catch frogs. It is not easy. You have to sit down and wait for the frog to settle down. At least for 5 minutes, you have to be there in that position. And once you see that the frog is settled down, not moving, focused on one thing, you have to simply go and catch it. I would do it every time during the rainy season. Put these frogs in a poly bag and take it to the school. I would sit at the back bench, and when the class is going on, I would remove these frogs and throw them at my classmates. Now, it gave me immense pleasure seeing my classmates jumping, yelling, shouting, not knowing what exactly had happened. So my days passed. I passed my final year of my school. And before leaving the school, when I went to meet my teachers, they all had only one thing to say. Nisha, you have been a brilliant student, but you messed it up. You could have done better. But that part of my life story is called the messed up story. The story of my life transformed from the messed up story to the story of a rebel when I went to the college. During my college and hostel days, I did everything except studying. I bunked classes. I got into college strikes, street fights. I have stopped strangers on the road and threatened them for no reason, just for fun. I would sometimes hang myself in the balcony and yell for help, just to have some fun time with my friends. Well, I studied, but I did not study the way I was supposed to do. And I was happy with the kind of marks that I got. At least I passed. That is what my thought. When I passed college, again, my mother had to say only one thing. Nisha, you messed it up. You could have done better. I passed my college, I did post-graduation, and then I moved to a very big city for a job. While all my friends were busy establishing their career, I was busy switching jobs, sometimes within a year, sometimes within 6 months, just for fun, because I was not serious about my profession or my life. After marriage, I moved to Qatar with my husband, and life went on. In 2010, when my mother was on her deathbed, I went to see her. And in her eyes, I could see those words one more time. that Nisha, you could have done better. Now, I graduated from being an immature young girl to even worse, mother of two wonderful kids. But did I ever try to change the story of my life? No. It was only during this pandemic and when lockdown was announced, I had ample time to reflect on my life. And to be very honest, I have always felt proud of those mischiefs, those pranks, and the incredible things that I have done in my life. I used to share it with my friends and relatives with joy and pride, as if I have done something great in life. During lockdown, I stumbled upon a story of a tutor in Kolkata, West Bengal, India. Now, this man has been living in lockdown for the last 40 years. At the age of 9, he was paralyzed and his body below the shoulders became powerless. He had to discontinue his studies. So that means he has no formal education. But he didn't give up. He addressed that adversity and tried to find opportunities in them. He started reading books. He increased his knowledge in all the areas of life. And one day it so happened that he had to take maths tuition classes for his neighbor. They liked it so much that all the kids in his neighborhood started coming to him. And that is how he started conducting tuition classes in that area for free. For free. He's a very well-known tutor and mentor for all the kids in India. And even in this lockdown, he has been conducting online classes for all the students, lying on his bed without moving. As I finished this article, I asked myself, is your story worth reading? Is your story worth sharing? What kind of an impact your story will make on the lives of others? And I got no answer. I thought about it and I decided to rewrite the story of my life. But I had no idea how to do it. That is when I thought of starting an online talk series named Talksopedia. But again, I had no idea what to do in the talk series. And then it came to my mind that why not share stories? Stories of people who have faced challenges, but people who have risen like a phoenix in their lives. And that is how, in the month of July, I started the online series Talksopedia, where I invite individuals from different parts of the world to share their stories. Now, these speakers are not established speakers. They are not professional trainers. They are very ordinary individuals coming from different countries, different cultures, different professions. But they all had one thing in common. Their extraordinary stories. And I'm glad that the tutor of Kolkata, Mr. Rajiv Poddar, was one of the speakers in Talksopedia. He spoke for 40 minutes, lying on his bed in one position. And in his room, I could see TVs all around, in every direction. So the moment he moves and changes his direction, he can look at the TV on that side, or when he moves here, he can look at the TV on the other side. And that is how he keeps himself entertained. Now I want to ask you all, what is your story? Have you ever thought about it? As I said, stories are extremely powerful. And your story will definitely have the power to change lives only when you decide to change the story of your life. Now, as the youth, you may mess it up. You may rebel against all the traditions or trends. It's your life, your story. But one day, when somebody would read the story of your life, let them not tell you that you could have done better. You messed it up. At any point of our life, we have the power to tell ourselves that this is not how my story is going to end. And at that moment, you need to hold the pen tightly and rewrite the script of your life. Today, Talksopedia has completed 19 sessions with 19 wonderful storytellers. And I have been receiving messages from people saying that they want to listen to more stories from such inspiring people. And I would be glad if I could change one life at a time with one story at a time. I have written the script of my life by making a difference in others' life. Now, I'm not proud of all those things that I did in the past. Now, the messed up story is still there. The story of the rebel is still there. I cannot change it. And I cannot even share those stories with my kids. How pathetic. Because I don't want my kids to do the same thing, take the examples from my life and do the same thing. No. I don't want my kids to read those stories and tell me, Mama, you could have done better. You messed it up. No. I want them to look at my story and ask themselves that just like my mother, is my story worth reading or worth sharing? What is your story? Think about it. And it is very easy to change the script of your story when you ask these questions to yourself, that what kind of an impact my story would make when I would share it with others. Will I be sharing it with joy and pride? Or will I be ashamed of the things that I have done? And at that moment, when you will not get any answer, that is the moment you have to change the script. So at this lockdown, what is the story are you writing? Have you addressed the adversity and found the opportunities to create new stories of your life? Well, if you haven't, it is time that you do it. Because at the end of the day, my dear friends, we are all stories. Different stories. Make sure that your story is worth reading. Make sure that your story is worth sharing. Thank you so much.